Say is that if you are watching this at home and one of the doctors who are in this office, Inside Out Family Chiropractic, did not prescribe these exercises for you, these are not for you. Okay, these are specifically for people that we've given these exercises to and wanted them to follow through for their chiropractic care. At the beginning, we had talked to you guys a lot about your neck posture and how the nervous system controls everything through your back. You guys, this should be a quick review, but you guys probably remember this. So the nerves from the neck, they're the ones that go up into the head. They do the neck and the shoulders. They do the arms and down into the hands, right? The ones between the shoulder blades, those are the ones that do the heart and the lungs. They do the stomach and the gallbladder, etc. And then as you get down to the lower back, those are the nerves that go down the legs. So the sciatic nerve goes down the legs, actually goes right down to the feet, but also does the bowel, the sex organs, the bladder, etc. That's a review for everybody, right? Okay. Now, I keep this chart up here. This one's fancy that it lights up, but this one here shows the different colors. And I don't know if you ever noticed on this chart, there's two different color nerves. There are the yellow nerves and the green nerves. They're not really yellow and green inside of you, right? But the yellow and the green nerves have two different functions. So the yellow nerves are what are called the sympathetic nerves. They're your stress nerves. They're the ones that turn on when you're stressed. So as an example, the yellow nerve to the heart. So let's say you had to run across, you saw a car coming, so you had to run faster. What would have to happen to your heart rate? It would have to go up. But eventually, after you're on the other side, it would be ideal if your heart rate would do what? Come back down. But that's actually controlled by two different nerves in your body. So the heart to go up is the yellow nerve. But the green nerve is the one that tells it to calm back down and bring it down. And there's this delicate balance between these two sets of nerves that creates this thing that we call balance. And that's for every part of your body. So if the bowels work too fast, it's called diarrhea. If they work too slow, it's called constipation. If your heart rate's too fast, it's tachycardia. If it's too slow, it's bradycardia. If your breathing rate's too fast, too slow. If it's all these things, if your blood pressure's too high, too low, your blood chemistry is too high, too low, all of it is a delicate balance controlled by two different systems inside your nerve system, the parasympathetic and sympathetic nerves. Now you'll notice though that the calm down nerves only come from two spots in your body. One is right here and the other one is right here. So for your body to be healthy, and the impact of them is the very top affects everything and the very bottom. Those are the only two spots in your body that can affect everything. So if you need your body to calm back down, because nobody here has a shortage of stress. Is there anybody going around that they just don't have enough stress in their life? Anybody have a shortage of that?
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you're pretty sure. I know who you're with. So the idea there is that the biggest challenge for most people is that their body becomes defeated because it has an overwhelming amount of stress. In fact, somebody who looks defeated, what do they look like? The part of the body that controls your ability to overcome stress is giving way. Right? That posture. And so when we look at exercises, there's millions of different exercises that everybody could do. If you want ones that create the greatest neurological benefit, they would be the ones that create the best support for the bottom and the top. So I'm going to start the ones first here at the bottom. So everybody's heard of core exercises, right? Has everybody heard of core? You got to work the core, right? So one of the things that we did, so in 1993 I worked in the biomechanics lab at McMaster University with Dr. Jim Dowling, and we did these research studies on exercise equipment. And it was really interesting. My job was to bring in people, put them into a piece of exercise equipment, cover them in electrodes, and find out what was actually happening to their body as they did the exercise, right? And here's what we found. The best piece of exercise equipment on the planet is your body. Is not using any equipment at all. So, the best exercise that recruited more muscle fibers than any other exercise was something that we were calling the plank. We got the word from the guy who, Joseph Pilates, who started Pilates, and it was called the plank. Now, at that point when I was talking about planks, nobody ever heard of them, but now most people have heard of planks. Have you heard of planks? Okay, so planks are what? Planks are you put your body into a plank position, right? I'm going to show you the big smiley face. Big smiley face there. There's your nose, there's your eyes. I have a lot of talents, drawing's not one of them, okay? So, and the whole idea is that gravity is coming this way. So, in order for your body to hold that position, requires your butt muscles and your lower abdominal muscles and your shoulder muscles to kick on instantly. But it's not until 15 seconds into the exercise that some of the longer muscles turn on. And then by 30 seconds, right, is when all of the small postural muscles start to kick in and the longer abdominal muscles start to kick in. So the exercise doesn't even start until you've hit the 30-second mark, which is why our goal is for people to get to a minute. In fact, a minute, holding a plank for a minute is considered a minimum standard for fitness. And yet most people don't meet the minimum standard, right? It's like the whole, how many steps a day should you take? What do they say? How many?
10,000.
10,000. But you know what that is? That number is the minimum standard to basically not be decaying quickly. And yet people set it as their goal, right? Thinking, so that's what they come up. So it's the minimum standard. But if we have goals that are beyond the minimum, then we have to actually set standards that are beyond that, right? So we want to get to at least a minute. If you can go a minute and a half, 2 minutes is awesome, but a minute is going to be the minimum standard that we expect your body to be able to do in order for your body to be able to make the changes on the inside that it needs to make, right? So how does a plank work? Everybody knows that a plank can be done in this position or down on your elbows. Everybody has their preference. I usually do it in this position because I like to do push-ups at the same time. But the idea is to hold your body in a straight line. So not with your bum up, not with your butt down, but in a straight line this way. Now, if you cannot get to a minute, because when I do it, it looks relatively simple, but it's not. So when you get to that 30, 40 seconds or 8 seconds and your body wants to give out, if you have to take a break, just put a knee down, just one of them. Take a breath and then put it back up. And the idea there is that some of those muscles that you're contracting in that first 30 seconds that you're starting to fatigue, you can keep those under stress by just putting one knee down. But if you take a break like this, then you are basically starting over again. So the idea is to get into a plank position. Now, there are two things that we want to be able to do. Number one, we want to hold it for a minute. But number two, we want it to be hard. So if I want to make that, I'm going to show you how to make it harder and easier. Okay, so if I want to make that harder, how could I make it harder?
Lift up on one leg, lift up on one leg.
Yeah, so change the base of support. So you could do it on a bed. It's unstable. You can do it up on balls. So when I do it, I have a Bosu ball, and then I have a couple medicine balls. So all my points of contact are on balls, and so they're moving, right? You can take, put one arm in the air, one leg in the air. If you can do no arms and no legs, it's considered very advanced, okay? It's a joke, it doesn't, okay. Yeah, so but the idea is you might want to hold it like this, and you'll see that my body will want to turn. It requires all kinds of little muscles in order to hold that position. And so you want it to be, you want to hold it for a minute, but you want it to be a challenge, okay? If you need to make it easier, I'm just going to use your knees. You go in front of a set of stairs, okay? So let's say this is stair number 3 type idea, and then I plank this way. And then over the weeks, I can work my way down to stair number 2, and then stair number 1, and maybe in a couple months I'm down on the ground. Make sense to you guys? A plank I like because it's what's called an isometric exercise. So isometric means what? You're not moving. Isolated metric, so you're not moving. So if you have a degenerated disc, herniated disc, degenerated joints, bad knees, whatever, it's not as difficult for this type of exercise because you're not moving the joint at all during the exercise. Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. Any questions about the plank? Second one, so the plank creates great power through here, which is this nerve here. So it has a calming down effect on the nerves. Do the number 3 thing checked off on all our feedback forms. So the number 1 thing checked off on all our feedback forms is better energy. Second one is more positive attitude. Think about that. That's the second most checked off thing. And the third thing is handle stress better. And fourth is less pain. Now all those are above 90%, but the highest ones are those. So the third one being that they handle stress better. Can you imagine that if you had more energy, you were in a better mood and handled stress better. Imagine they had a pill for that. That would be like the best-selling pill on the planet, wouldn't it?
Sure, it was legalizing it
Right?
very soon.
Yeah, it's getting legalized soon, yeah. So the idea there is that all that is a side effect of your body working the way that it's supposed to, because with our work on you, we're bringing into balance these yellow and green nerves. Again, they're not yellow and green for real inside of you, but just for descriptive purposes. So the plank, if I only had to do one exercise ever, that's what it would be, okay? The second one would be the wall sit. So the wall sit is pretty simple. Everybody's done that in high school and stuff, and you go there and you sit against the wall. And the reason why I like the wall sit is because no matter what level of fitness you are, it hurts, right? So I could run, I'm doing triathlons and stuff right now, and so I could run a good distance, and yet this already hurts. I've only been here for 20 seconds and it hurts. So it's great because it creates a stress on your body in a very short period of time, and I like that. I like having exercises that challenge my body quickly, and I don't have to be here for an hour to get a workout. So again, holding this for a minute. Now for somebody who's had some knee challenges, I don't really like squats and lunges and things like that because they bother my knees. So this is perfect for that because it creates power through the legs, which are the main support for your pelvis, and through your butt, which supports the pelvis. Again, affecting these nerves, which have the general de-stressing effect on all of this, okay? Coordinating the upper and lower body can be done with the dead bug. So how many of you guys have done the dead bug before? So a dead bug is a great exercise. If you have postural deficiencies like shoulders rolling forwards or some scoliosis, I really like the dead bug because it trains your upper and lower body to talk to each other at all times. And so the dead bug looks like a dead bug. So a dead bug looks like this, right? And the way the dead bug works is you lower one arm and the opposite leg at the same time. Both of them are staying off the ground, so the arm stays off the ground, leg stays off the ground, but you lower, where is that there, yeah. And then you bring it up and opposite. And up and opposite. And the idea here is that you're creating this coordination, so it's creating this pattern where your brain has to think about both sides of the body at the same time. If your brain has to think about both sides of the body at the same time, you'll have to remind yourself less often about sitting up straight. Do you ever notice that? And you're like, oh, how long have I been slouching here? So you have to remind yourself less often. You're training your brain to talk to those postural muscles all at once. And so the dead bugs are really good exercise for that. If you find that that you have problems with slouching, problems with posture, then those are really key. And the dead bug is on here too, right? So it goes through and describes it in detail and whatnot. So 3 sets of 10 reps, etc. is all on there, okay? Questions about the dead bug? So a dead bug takes you about a minute. Wall sit takes you about a minute. Plank takes you about a minute. Right now we're at 3 minutes. Does anybody not have 3 minutes?
Probably not.
Yeah, you got 3 minutes. You could do a wall sit with this guy, right?
It's actually 17 pounds.
Yeah, you just come here and then you sit here like this and you go, okay, I'm gonna sit like that, right? And then you do your wall sit. Yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Okay, so then the last one, I'll take him so you can relax for a second. So then the last one ends up being the cervical traction. So this is the one that's specifically designed to help with not just your posture of the neck, but the shape of all the discs and the shape of the ligaments. So in order for your body to be in the ideal posture, so if we put up an x-ray here, it's gonna be a bright light. Okay. So you guys remember that an x-ray of a neck from the side has ideally a curve to it, a C-shaped curve. So if this person was now laying down on their back, there should be a curve there like that. The idea of the traction units, and which ones do you guys have? Gray and black. Okay, so we'll show the gray and black one. So the black one, as an example, if I put this underneath, everybody here could see how that would help accentuate that curve. Is that sort of a no-brainer, right? What that does specifically, if I have that there, is stretches out the ligaments in that specific area. So on your thing, it'll say your name, and a number 1, a 2, or a 3. Okay? So everybody check to see what number you are so that you can reference it. So 1, 2, or 3. So position 1 is the top of the neck. Position 2 is the middle of the neck. Position 3 is down at the bottom of the neck. Okay? So you need to know how to find those. So position 1.
Sorry.
Okay?
Thank you. Yeah.
So position 1. So if you take your hand and slide it down the back of your skull, you'll feel a soft spot there. I want everybody to do that. Okay? You have to make sure that you got the right spot. So right where you are, almost for everybody, it just below that on you. Right there. It's where their hairline is. Yep, you got it. Yep, you got it. So that, where you're feeling right now, is position 1. Position 3 is if I tip my head down, there's a big bump at the bottom sticking out. Everybody feel that one? That one's easy to find. That's position 3. So position 2 is halfway between those two spots. Do you get that? So there's the top, the middle, and the bottom. So position 1, 2, and 3. So top, middle, and bottom. So if I was to lay down on this for position 1, then the top part of this would be up near the top of the neck. Position 2 would be the middle. Position 3 would be at the bottom. Okay? Got it, okay. Any questions, make sure you let me know. So, when you look at this, the idea is you're gonna start off on this for 2 or 3 minutes a day. Some people can only tolerate it for 30 seconds to a minute in the first day or two, and so you're just trying to work your way up. The goal is to get up to 15 minutes 3 times a week, but the minimum is gonna be 11 minutes. So science says that the ligament, it's called ligament creep. I wish they found a better word for it. But ligament creep doesn't happen until you hit past 11 minutes. So that means ligament change. So until you stretch it for longer than 11 minutes, it's never going to change to the point where it changes permanently. Okay? And so and the research says it'd be awesome if you did it daily, and a minimum standard would be 3 times a week. So if you shoot for every day, we know we'll probably hit 3 times a week, right? Because you guys all had exercises from the beginning, yes? Okay? And how many of you have done them regularly, without fail, without stopping? How come the hands aren't up? So, hang on, no, I want to address something. So somewhere between getting them, because you didn't receive the exercises and say, I have no intention of ever doing these, right? We have the intention of doing it, but there's been a bit of a gap, right? So how do we fill that gap? What would make you do them? What do you think? What do you think?
Schedule it, do it first in the morning.
Schedule it, okay. What else?
You gotta believe in what you're doing.
Yeah, it's got to be important enough. When it comes down to it, everything that you do or don't do is a choice, and your choices are based on priority. So if I said to you, now this is a very graphic example, but if I said to you, you know, your kids are going to die if you don't do these exercises, and to keep them alive, all you have to do is do them. It really would be no problem doing them, yes? Right. So in the end, it's a choice, because at that point you wouldn't say, oh, I just wish I had the time. Sorry, kids, I don't have the time. So it really is a choice, and yet we choose to sometimes, you know, let other stuff take priority. That's okay. But the thing is to be aware of it and say, okay, I want to make a choice to make a change. It's worth the effort for me to do it. If I do it, it's going to make a change in my health over a lifetime. I'm going to help myself find a way to prioritize it. That's the people who have the best success with this stuff. That's the kind of thought process that they go through. And then you come into an environment where people who love you very much will ask you regularly about your exercises. Not because I enjoy it, not because I love saying, hey, you doing it, but because we want to have you have the best results, which is what you're looking for, right? So I'm going to show you what it looks like to go through position 1, 2, and 3, what it looks like laying on the ground. If you have one of these, take your pen and put it in. So see how one of these sides is shorter than the other? Yeah. Take your pen and stick it into the side that's shorter. Okay? And do it for hers too.
Thank you.
Just jam it right in there. Okay. So that's the side that goes, perfect. That's the side that goes closest to your shoulders. I'll put it over here, right? That goes closest to your shoulders. So if I'm laying down, that part is facing my shoulders. Got it? With this one, okay, for those of you guys that have this one, there is a line, a crevice where the plastic piece is inside. That part goes on the ground, and then my head goes over the end, and this strap is added. So you need to have a little extra tension just based on the subluxation pattern that you have. And so I'll show you what they look like to lay on them. So if this one, if this is, oh, and by the way, these cuts are in here, is if I needed to make it smaller, if I was doing it with a child and stuff, then I could cut it and make it shorter. But you guys are good the way the size is. Okay, so if I lay down on this, the way it looks is this. So this would be position 1. So I can find that spot, I put it at the top. Does this look like an exercise that you guys can do? Right? Not now. Mom is working out. Right? Except somebody will be crawling all over you. Like, I know, I get it.
Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, this is awesome. He'll be chewing on this thing.
Yeah.
So, position 1 looks like this. I want you to notice a couple things. Watch what happens to my head if I straighten my legs. There's extra tension in there. So at the beginning, if you need to have your knees bent, you might find it a little bit more comfortable on the neck to have your knees bent. Eventually though, you want to get to the part where legs are straight and your neck is able to relax, because we stand straight, right? So your neck is able to relax and go into a full curve. But at the beginning, if you need to do it with your knees bent, you can do that. If you want to put your feet up on something because you need to have your back flatter, you can do that too. I always like to have my arms open because it encourages an open chest and breathing into the chest, and just take some breaths in this position. I'll show you what position 2 and 3 look like just so you can see how they're a different position. So position 1, my head's looking up. Position 2, your head is now going into an arch and is starting to tip backwards. And position 3, a little harder to get into. Get your shoulder onto it, and you can see that it's now working the lowest part of the neck. So depending on where your subluxation pattern is, a little harder to talk in this position. Depending on where your subluxation pattern is, determines where in the neck we told you to put it there. Okay. Any questions about the position? Okay. Notice when I'm getting off of it, I roll to the side. Don't go from sitting back like that to coming straight up. A lot of people have inner ear balance challenges, and so having your head tipped back and then coming straight up, you can have some balance challenges. So I always say to people, just roll off the side of it and get up a little bit easier. Okay. This one, when it comes shipped to you, this cord is pulled tight just for shipping, but you want to loosen it to the end of the cord so that there's a little bit more freedom with that movement. Sometimes they've already done it for you. Looks like they did it at least part way for you guys. Okay, so when you lay on top of this, position 1, I work my way up, is right there. I put the traction unit on, the strap on, and I'm here. So arms out, I would put my legs down. But sometimes for comfort, people can do it this way. Okay, position 2, a little higher up, and you add the strap, and then position 3 is a little higher up still. Now if you're on position 3 on this and your head is flat on the ground, then you'll want to just put a little book underneath it to create some extra space underneath that. And then you come off to the side and come up. So a couple questions. You're laying on this thing. How are you going to know when 10 to 15 minutes is up? Set a timer. It gets really comfortable after a while, and for a lot of people, a lot of times they end up falling asleep. So you do not want to be falling asleep on this for an hour at a time. Anybody ever fall asleep on a couch and you kink your neck a little bit? And you know what that feels like, so you don't want to do that. But you set a timer. The other thing I'd encourage you to do is to work it up. So let's say the first day you do it for 2 minutes. Work it up, 30 seconds a day, going up that way. You don't go straight to 15 minutes on day 1, but work it up, over time to get up to that part where you're up to that 15 minutes a day, minimum 11 minutes. I find that if people take their sheet and they just write, their times on the sides, it's easier for you to keep track of, because once you get into it, you're like, And let's say you miss a day or you work a 24-hour shift and you're like, I can't even remember how long I did last day. Well, you have it written down. So that's one. Number two, I find that people have a better success at following through when they see progress, right? And so that's why keeping notes of progress makes a difference. So, you know, beside your playing, you know, get to how long did it take before you had to take a little bit of a break? Maybe you write 30 seconds down. Maybe it's 8 seconds. I had a patient started 2 weeks ago and they made it to 8 seconds. And they're really super happy. They're up to 16 seconds now. They've doubled their amount of time in a plank. Their level of fitness is far from where they would like it to be, but it's the starting point. And so if you know, if she wasn't measuring the amount of time, she would still feel frustrated by the lack of progress. So just put down there and get some progress. If you ever aren't sure and you can't remember what position you were in or whatnot, just ask your doctor who's adjusting you. But the idea is to be able to do this routine on a morning basis. Now, I'll give you the details of the people who have the most success with this stuff. So the people who have the most success, because we said earlier, like you got exercises before and you had every intention of following through and then life got in the way, right? So having given this to thousands of people, I'll give you the ideas of the people who have the most success with it. Number one, they do it in the morning. Not because I think that mornings give you better results, but mornings tend to be the most routine part of people's days. Maybe with the exception of new moms. But but typically the most routine part of people's days. You get up, typically have some type of personal hygiene time, right? Maybe some food, etc., and then your quote-unquote day starts. So if you can do it before the quote-unquote day starts, then you're going to have a better chance at it. So all in total, you're looking at about 18 minutes of time. If you took your alarm clock and set it for 18 minutes earlier, you have now found the 18 minutes that you wouldn't otherwise have, right? And I can tell you, I've done the research, you will not die with those 18 minutes less. Although you feel like you will, right? So if you set your alarm normally for 5 a.m. and so now you set it for 4:40, like you will not die. It just will be difficult for the first little while, right? So if you're worried about time, that's how you get it, okay? Number two, people who have the most success, they keep it in the same place. So if you keep it on your desk, if your desk is like mine, it'll be under a piece of paper in about 4 minutes and you won't be able to find it after 3 hours, right? And so keep it in a place that you go every day. So for a lot of patients, they keep it beside their underwear drawer because ideally you are going there every day, right? Some people put it beside the dog leash because their habit is they get up and they walk the dog. Oh, if you have dogs, they love these things. They love to chew them, they love to play out with them, and they love to pull them apart, especially after you've used it for a while because it smells like you. And so if you have dogs, you're going to have to protect it from them. I put it on my nightstand, so my alarm goes off, I hit my alarm, I pick up my traction unit, and I go in the other room and I do my morning kind of routine. And so I definitely set another alarm for laying on. So you know how you're like, I just need 15 minutes rest? Well, then you just lay on the ground, hit 15 minutes, and lay on your traction unit, and you get your 15 minutes there, right? So there are ways to make it work in lives that are crazy busy. The people who have success keep notes. People who have success ask questions. So if you have questions along the way, or you feel certain things, then you need to let us know what those are. Side effects or signs that you're going too fast, too quickly. Number one is, anybody ever gone to the gym and then the next day you feel like you worked out? Okay, if you feel that after using this, then the next day, if you, let's say you did 3 minutes, the next day I would still do 3 minutes. I wouldn't increase it until I didn't feel that anymore. This is not like a muscle-based exercise where you can kind of push through it. It's a ligament-based exercise, a neurological-based exercise, so you actually don't get any benefit by pushing through it faster. In fact, you probably would just be more sore, okay? So the idea would be to lay on that. Some people ask, can I use it more than 15 minutes? Because I have patients that use it 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at night, because they work at a computer all day, or their neck is sore, or their shoulders are sore. You'll find that after you lay on this, like I was only on those for a couple minutes, and I can feel my neck is really hot. Like it's it's like somebody gave me an incredible massage. Like it's unbelievable how getting your neck into a position where there's no pressure on the nerves feels really, really good. So can you use it for that long? Yes, but not until you can comfortably get up into that point. Does that make sense to you guys? But do not sleep on these things. When you go home, people at home will look at it and say, oh, that looks really nice or comfortable. I'd like to try that. Those are for you. You notice that even people in here, you've been given a different spot on your neck and a different unit. They're specific for you. Don't let other people mess around with it, okay? Please. I feel like I'm forgetting something. Questions? Okay, how long do I do a plank for?
1 minute.
Minute. If I want to make it harder, what can I do?
Oh, lift the leg or an
Lift a leg or an arm, right? If I want to make it easier,
Put a knee down.
put a knee down,
Stairs.
or in front of a set of stairs, or a countertop, or something like that. Perfect. Okay, wall sit. I forgot to tell you, wall sit. How do I make it easier? Don't put your hands down. Come up the wall a little bit. Okay, it still loads the legs, doesn't give them a total break, but it's less difficult than being down at 90 degrees. And so the idea, or you can do it, and you want to make it harder, you can do it on one leg. So if you can do it on one leg at a time, and if you're like me and you like to multitask, you can go down here, you go on one leg and you lift weights at the same time. Like it's like you can incorporate it into other stuff, right? And these are not beach body exercises, right? Clearly, these are not beach body exercises. But the idea there is a what's called functional fitness. In other words, we want your body to be able to withstand the rigors of day-to-day life and still feel good on the other side of it. What's the dead bug really good for?
We don't look at that. No, for
You get to lay down. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, what else?
it's just for the spine to stretch a little.
Yep. What else?
Helps your brain function on two different sides at the same time, opposite sides.
Yeah, because you guys probably have heard that the right side of the brain controls left side of the body and vice versa. So when you're doing that, it's called a cross crawl thing. So that's why we love when babies crawl, because it actually develops the brain and develops the postural centers. So for a lot of us, most people don't do any cross crawl anymore, except for maybe swimmers, right? And even swimmers are mostly just kicking. They're not bringing the legs up at all. And so doing the opposite, right? Remember the old sweating to the oldies? Look it up on the History Channel, okay? You guys remember that? They're just doing those cross crawl. Those are excellent exercises for the brain. It actually activates your brain. It makes it more alive and more posturally aware, right? So the traction unit. So we lay down on the traction unit. You are, how do I find position 2?
Middle between the soft spot at the base or at the top and then the hard bump on the
And the hard bump at the bottom. That's so perfect, okay? And then on day 1, I'm going to lay on it for how long?
2 minutes.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, right? And I'm going to go up by how much a day? 30 seconds to a minute, right? So I don't want you to come here on Monday and go 15 minutes. That one I won't be impressed, because that means you went too fast, okay? So work your way up to it. When's the best time of the day to do it? Mornings. That doesn't mean you can't do it another time of day. Some people, you just find what works for you. But I find that when people make it routine with their day, it's more likely to stick, right? Which is what we all want. We want habits that stick, that help us with our health, right? So, okay. Any other questions? When are we going to start? Tomorrow. First thing tomorrow. On Monday. Next week.
It's not
Yeah.
morning anymore.
It's not morning
It's not
anymore.
morning,
Yeah, so it's
yeah.
not morning. You gotta go have a
No way I
nap.
can fit it into my schedule today.
But the idea is to get on it so that you're doing it regularly by the time we get around to next week. Cool? Awesome. Thanks guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.